Hello. Continuing our work in compound interest, we are going to look at a loan. So in a loan, we have a particular amount of money that we take out as a loan, and because of compound interest, every year, in this case 9%, we're going to add on 9% of this 42,000 at the end of the first year, and then at the end of the second year, we would be adding on 9% of what was in the account, what was in the debt at the beginning of year 2. So the amount of money that we are getting 9% of goes up each year. So let's have a look at how this works out for Sam. Sam gets a loan of €42,000 at 9% interest per annum. So per annum means annually, per year, for 3 years. So our interest rate is in years and our time is in years. So they're in the same unit, which is good. At the end of year 2, they pay off €10,000. What is the debt at the end of year 3? We'll look at part 2 in a few minutes. So I recognize I'm talking about money and I'm talking about interest rates, so I'm talking about compound interest. That means I'm immediately going to write down the compound interest formula, so I have an anchor for what it is I'm talking about. And then I want to say, well, what do I know about each one of these things? I want to know the final value at the end of year 3. So that's 3 years away. But I have a problem. I'm told at the end of year 2 that €10,000 gets paid off. So that means I can't just sub straight into this formula and set 3 years and find out what my final value is. Because something changes during that 3-year period. I'm not just adding interest onto the loan. Some of it gets paid off. So my final value isn't going to be able to take account of that if I just sub into my formula. So I need to tell myself the story of what's going on. So I draw my picture. I have the present time, year 0, or the present time. I have year 1. I have year 2. I have year 3. And in part 2, I'm going to need year 4. So I'm just going to put that in now. We're not going to do anything with it for a few minutes. Presently, when the loan is taken out, that means we're at €42,000. Now I can use my formula to go from here in the present, up to year 2. I can get my final value for year 2. That's just going to be the present value on 1 plus I to the power of 2. Nothing has happened by this point to change the amount of money in the account other than the interest being accrued. So that means that I can use my formula up to this point. But then to get the principal for year 3, to get the principal to get up to the end of year 3, I have to take away this €10,000. So my principal going into year 3, end of year 2, beginning of year 3, is going to be my final value that I calculate for year 2 minus this 10,000 that's going to get removed from the debt. And that's going to allow me to get up to my final value for year 3, which is what I want to know. So now we've used our drawing, we've used our picture to tell us the structure of how we have to get for part 1. So let's get into it. So we want to deal with our blue part here first. So we are going to say our starting value is €42,000. And our interest rate is 9%. It's a yearly interest rate. It's 9%. Immediately, I turn that into 9 per cent per 100 is 0.09 from our calculator. We never ever do anything with this except turn it into a decimal immediately. We want the final value, and that's going to be the final value at the end of year 2. And this is going to be after 2 years. So we can sub into our formula. We've written down all of our information. There's a big block of text here, but we've gotten it down. We've used our picture. We've written down the information for the blue section. and we have written down our formula from our log tables on page 30, and we sub in, and we have 42,000 on 1 plus 0.09 to the power of 2. So our final value at the end of year 2, before we've paid off, or before Sam has paid off any of their debt, is going to be 49,920. So that's the amount of money owed on the loan at the end of year 2, and then 10,000 euro gets paid off. So that means our principal for going into year 3 is going to be our final value in year 2 minus this 10,000 that we have paid off. So that's going to be 49,900 minus our 10,000 is obviously, sorry, 0.2 is going to be 39,920 cent. So that's the principal going in to year 3. So at this point now, we have 39,900 euro and 20 cent of a debt, because we paid off that 10,000, or Sam has paid off that 10,000. So now all I have to do is use my formula again. So now my principal is this one. So set up the information we have again, because it's changed and it's important we don't get muddled. Our interest rate is unchanged. It's still 0.09. Our time this year is just 1 year, because we're going from end of year 2 to the end of year 3. And we have our principal, we have our interest rate, we have our time. So let's get our final value. P on 1 plus I to the t. F is equal to, it's going to be F3 is going to be equal to 0.2 on 1 plus I to the 1, which ends up being equal to 43,491.218, which I'm going to call 2 because we're dealing with money, and that's going to be my final answer for part 1. So that is the amount of money in the account here at the end of year 3. Now in part 2 of the question, it says in year 4 the interest rate changes and the debt becomes, or comes to I should say, 50,014 euro and 90 cent. What is the interest rate for year 4? So this time we don't know the interest rate. So let's write down what we do know. We're talking about year 4. So we're end of year 3 to end of year 4. Well, what's the principal for that going to be? Well, that's going to be the amount of money that was in the account at the end of year 3, which is what we just found. So the principal for year 4, if you want to put in a subscript 4, write that a little bit bigger. So we're dealing with year 4, so the principal for year 4 is what we just got. Is what would be in the account at the end of year 3, is what's in the account at the beginning of year 4. Our interest rate we don't know, so we want to find that out. Our time is 1 year, and this time we know our final value. It's given to us. It's 50,014. 0.90. We put in our euro symbols to make sure we're clear about what we're talking about. So that is our information. And now all we have to do is write down our formula and sub into it. So 50,014.9 is equal to 43,49122 on 1 plus I to the power of 1, because t is 1. Multiply out the bracket. multiply this by each thing inside. This is just a power of 1, so if this was a power of 2, we'd have to take square roots of things, but this is just a power of 1 for now. So we're just able to multiply out the bracket as normal, so any bracket that doesn't have a power in it is to the power of 1. So this power of 1 doesn't really have much of an effect. So I have 50,000 and 14.90 is equal to 43,491.22 plus 43,491.22 times the interest rate that we're looking for. This is now just an algebraic equation, or sorry, from here it has been an algebraic equation. We're just rearranging it to find out what I is equal to. So we have to subtract, we want I by itself, so we're going to subtract this from both sides. 91.22. We do the same thing to the other side of our equal sign. 4391.22. And when we do that subtraction, we get 6,523.68 is equal to 43,491.22 I. 434. Yep. Now I divide by the coefficient of my letter in order to get I by itself. So these numbers are quite unpleasant, but the concept is identical to whenever we would be solving any equation. 43491.22. And when we do that, we get 0.149999. There's a lot of 9s going on there. It's not a recurring decimal. It does go to 3, I think, after that. Now, this could be very reasonably said to be approximately 0.15 I, and we are going to give our answer as a percentage. So currently this is over 1. We want to turn it into a percentage, so we would multiply above and below by 100 to turn it into a percentage. So currently it's over 1. We want it over 100, so we multiply by 100 over 100. We have 15 all over 100 is equal to I. So that means that I is 15%. So the bank increased the interest rate on the debt quite significantly in the 4th year. So the end of 3rd year to the end of 4th year, they increased the interest rate on the debt from 9% to 15%. So that is what we need for now.